It wasn't. Nothing of that kind was going on. This was all, once again, smoke and mirrors.
If I may, I'd like to take a moment to say just a word about my future plans. In doing so, I'll break a silence I've maintained for some time with regard to the presidential candidates. I'm going to work as hard as I can to make Vice President George Bush the next President of the United States.
По периметру Кремль 2200 метров. Ну не я бы сказал, это да, до меня сказано. Вот надо поднажмите на президента, на меня вы.
You should apply some pressure on the president. You are always pressuring me to give you results.
Ну правда у президента есть здоровье. До свидания.
I wish you a good journey back home, Mr. President and Mrs. Reagan. To you and to all members of the U.S. delegation, I wish good health. Goodbye.
Mr. General Secretary, Mrs. Gorbachev, this is an emotional moment for Mrs. Reagan and me. We have been truly moved by the warmth and the generous hospitality that we've received from all of our Soviet hosts during this brief visit, but most especially from the two of you. Imagine the President of the United States and the General Secretary of the Soviet Union walking together in Red Square, talking about a growing personal friendship and meeting together average citizens, realizing how much our people have in common. It was a special moment. So let me discharge my first official duty here today. Prime Minister, the achievements of the Moscow summit, as well as the Geneva and Washington summits, say much about your valor and strength, and by virtue of the office you hold, that of the British people. So let me say simply, at this hour in history, Prime Minister, the entire world salutes you and your gallant people and gallant nation.
Can we ask you what your feelings are as you meet with President Reagan as he prepares to leave office?
But they're mixed, obviously. I'm so pleased to see him and have the chance of thanking him for everything he's done for freedom in the world. But of course I'm sad that I'll not sit in this position with him sitting in that chair again. Because we knew one another before the President was the President and before I was the Prime Minister. And we had the same political dreams and the same ways of achieving them. And we're both just recalling a moment ago that I remember the time when Governor Reagan came to see me in my room in the House of Commons when I was leader of the opposition. So there are lots of times to recall, but I think the nicest thing of all, it's a very different world now, and a very much better one, and a very much more hopeful one than it was then.
Yes, and the things she says about the state of the world, she has played a major role in bringing those things about and these improvements. And I think when you stop to think today that the unity we have and with the other allies in NATO, I don't think very much of the world can remember when more than 4 decades of peace have followed as a result of that.
That was staunch and consistent leadership. The President staked out the ground on which he wished to fight. He stood on that ground, and he fought, and he won.
This office is not mine to give. Only you, the people, can do that. But I love America too much and care too much about where we will be in the next few years. I care that we give custody of this office to someone who will build on our changes, not retreat to the past. Someone who will continue the change all of us fought for, to preserve what we have and not risk losing it all. America needs George Bush and Barbara Bush as First Lady. There's still a lot of brush to clear out at the ranch, fences that need repair and horses to ride. But I want you to know that if the fires ever dim, I'll leave my phone number and address behind just in case you need a foot soldier. Just let me know, and I'll be there as long as words don't leave me, and as long as this sweet country strives to be special during its shining moment on earth. I'm ready to volunteer a little advice now and then and offer a pointer or two on strategy if asked. I'll help keep the facts straight or just stand back and cheer. But George, just one personal request. Go out there and win one for the Gipper. So now we come to the end of this last campaign. And I just hope that Nellie and Jack are looking down on us right now and nodding their heads and saying their kid did them proud. And I hope that someday your children and grandchildren will tell of the time that a certain president came to town at the end of a long journey and asked their parents and grandparents to join him in setting America on the course to the new millennium, and that a century of peace, prosperity, opportunity, and hope had followed. My fellow Americans, this is the 34th time I'll speak to you from the Oval Office, and the last. We've been together 8 years now, and soon it'll be time for me to go. But before I do, I wanted to share some thoughts, some of which I've been saving for a long time. It's been the honor of my life to be your president. So many of you have written the past few weeks to say thanks, but I could say as much to you. Nancy and I are grateful for the opportunity you gave us to serve. They called it the Reagan Revolution. Well, I'll accept that. But for me, it always seemed more like the great rediscovery. A rediscovery of our values and our common sense. And in all of that time, I won a nickname, the Great Communicator. But I never thought it was my style or the words I used that made a difference. It was the content. I wasn't a great communicator, but I communicated great things. And they didn't spring full bloom from my brow. They came from the heart of a great nation, from our experience, our wisdom, and our belief in the principles that have guided us for 2 centuries. But as long as we remember our first principles and believe in ourselves, the future will always be ours. And something else we learned. Once you begin a great movement, there's no telling where it'll end. We meant to change a nation, and instead, we changed a world. We've done our part, and as I walk off into the city streets, a final word to the men and women of the Reagan Revolution, the men and women across America who for 8 years did the work that brought America back. My friends, we did it. We weren't just marking time. We made a difference. We made the city stronger, we made the city freer, and we left her in good hands. All in all, not bad. Not bad at all. And so, goodbye, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.